Hey guys, here we are coming from the studio, and we just wanted to send you a quick clip for this week. Hey, we're not gonna have video this week for YouTube.
Yeah, we missed it last week. So here you go.
Sometimes that happens,
Yes.
but we want you to know that the episode we recorded is really good, and we think that you will benefit from it. And we didn't want to scrap it.
Right. So please keep listening while you're watching on YouTube. Watch till the
Yes.
end because it's a really good episode and we really hope that it helps you no matter what season of life you're in. So
This might be one of those where you just put it on, let it play in the background.
that's right. Keep brushing your teeth. You know what I mean? Keep driving. You ain't got to see us.
But look, life is about give and take. And this episode talks about give and take in relationships. And it was a moment that we felt really good about. And so we want you to feel really good about your moments in your relationship. So we hope that you will just stick in. And you know what? We will be back with video next week. So
That's right.
Until then, we're out.
Welcome. This is For Better and Worth,
The podcast where we don't believe you have to sacrifice your relationship while you grow and build your net worth.
We are your hosts.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Ericka Young, and we're so glad you're joining us today.
All right, y'all, let's get into it. Hey, babe, how you doing?
I'm okay. I'm feeling better.
Yeah, I guess that's I kind of know the answer to that question because you haven't been feeling your very best lately.
No, things have been happening, but today is a good day, so
Good.
that I am thankful for. How are you?
I'm doing good. I think we had one thing in mind, but I think we should go with something else.
Uh-oh. What are we talking about today, honey? I'm gonna let you go lead the way.
I think, we try to talk a lot about relationships and money, and we want to see people win, but sometimes we just need to dig into the relationship side of it because it's interesting. Like most people probably could attest that in relationships there are seasons. There's peaks, there's valleys, and sometimes somebody has to pick up the weight if somebody's down, and vice versa. And so I think that's what we need to talk about.
Yeah, I feel like we've had this. Some of this has been going on for like a month. Or two.
Yeah, or 2 months. Yeah, a couple months.
And just recently, it's been me. So I thought I was ill, and like my throat was hurting, and then I
went to the
doctor. I didn't have COVID, and then I didn't have any sniffles or cough or anything, but my throat was really itchy, and I was just like,
no strep throat or any of that.
I'm like, what is going on? And I promise you, I feel like I just didn't want to do anything, and it was just my throat. Like I can move my body, I can walk, but I don't want to do nothing. So 2 days this week, I pretty much laid around. I did do work while I was laying around, but I didn't want to leave the house.
It's like that sometimes when you don't feel well because we say it's been 2 months, and before you, it was me. I wasn't feeling my very best, and we were trying to figure out what was going on, and thank God we figured it out.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I think this is a prime example in relationships of how there's a give and a take.
Yeah.
And I love it because I know when things happen in life that maybe aren't on par, that get us off track, and it can cause you to get angry. I know sometimes you tell me like, well, look, if you already angry, there's no need for me to get angry because two angry people is not going to
help
solve a problem. And I think that's just it's just a testament when you talk about relationships, how, you've got to be able to go with the flow. And sometimes you need to flex more when like you don't feel well.
Yeah.
And so I'll be honest. One of our things that we go back and forth on is me cooking, and helping prepare meals. Like I do a number of things to help our household, but cooking isn't one of the things that I really like to do. The problem is that I'm actually a pretty good cook.
Well, and the problem is you like to eat. Like, listen, let's be clear. You know what I mean? Well, you want to eat.
Don't everybody like to eat?
Sure, but
last time I checked, you was right there at the meals with me.
Oh, I know I love to eat. I'm just saying, like, I'm not missing no meals, okay? I'm not, no. Intermittent fasting, that really isn't me.
Right.
But you want to eat.
And I think with that comes an expectation of like, well, what are we going to have for dinner? Or,
yeah.
What's going on? And I may be asking for, about dinner, not with the intention of cooking. Like, it's almost like, well, what are you cooking for dinner?
Or you don't think, I think more often than not, over the last 26 years, you just don't think about it because the pattern has been you get to come to the dinner table and eat whatever.
Well,
and
I'm just leaning into, you're just good at it.
Are you touching me right now? Are you? No. Okay, so case in point, I had to give you your props because on Friday I had a good moment where I was feeling okay. We were running some errands, and then I hit a wall. I came home, and I didn't want to do anything. But when I was out running in there, I was actually at Walgreens trying to get some medication.
Right.
And you said, I'm going to go to the grocery store and get the few things that are on the list. Yep. And I'm going to make this specific dinner that I just want. And I can't remember.
I think you almost fell over.
Literally. I was on the phone with our daughter.
Your car might have swerved a little bit.
Listen, I was on the phone with our daughter and I was like, did he just say? I told Faith, I said, girl, guess what your daddy just said? She said, oh, well, lean into that. I said, I am. But that showed care and concern for me. Yeah. And I needed it. Here is what I think the difference was. You didn't ask me what I wanted. So I wasn't involved in the planning. You went and got some stuff that you needed in order to make the meal. And then you made the meal. And so I think the taxing part of raising a family or being married is thinking about it ahead of time, what you're going to do, going to get the stuff that needs to be purchased in order for a meal to be cooked and then to cook it. Like, that's actually a lot of thought process. And if for most of our marriage, like most of the time I was doing a lot of the cooking, you're certainly capable, you're a good cook, but like I did most of it for the family of four. And so when you did that, I was like, oh my gosh, I came home and sat on the couch. And I did actually help with one thing, but I didn't feel stressed. Mm-hmm. And I was just exhausted. I honestly couldn't do anything else that evening. And I appreciated that. And I needed to tell you that because the next day, you also took the dog to board because we were going out and we needed him to be, overnight somewhere. And you took him. And I was like, that is all. So when you take stuff off my plate, obviously that's filling my love bank. But it's also because I wasn't feeling my best. And I was like, he stepped in when I couldn't do. And it's not even about you pampering me and la, 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 la. None of that was necessarily pampering. It was just simply stepping in when I needed your help without being asked. That part, without being asked, set me free.
Yay me.
For real. That's for real.
I want to make sure you got it all out
before you say what? What you about to say? In. Oh Lord, what you about to say?
No, it's all good.
Is my story accurate?
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay.
It's all good.
Right. That's all I need to know.
But like in a relationship, when you are in a marriage or a committed relationship or whatever it is, or friendship, whatever it is, when the other person is down, I think it should be logical or natural to step in. Like, if you're not feeling well, it's my job to step in. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't think I was doing anything that was out of the ordinary or out of the norm because I see you and you don't feel well.
But don't you think that was different, though? It felt out of the norm for me.
I think it was. Some of the extra steps I took may have been a little bit.
Because I've been sick before.
Above. Right. That's why I'm trying to categorize it in two things. Because one, I feel like these should be things that you do regularly.
Sure.
And so I'm trying to condition myself because we've had conversations in, our private time about how I can better meet your need and how you can better meet my need. Mm-hmm. And understanding that your love bank consists of really of acts of service because you want things to come off of your plate that you don't have to think about.
Right.
Because it's one thing for me to go to the grocery store and I'm on the phone with you like, okay, well, what else do we need, or this or that, walk me through the aisles. I mean, that I would never do that because I'm more than capable, but that doesn't take it off your plate.
Yeah.
If I'm just subbing in, but you're still virtually there with me while I'm walking the aisles, that's not as helpful.
And I think the other thing is there's a part of us that's so exhausted when we have kids in the house that we tend not to prioritize our partner as high
Right.
as we need to. And I think that we're both guilty sometimes of when we give so much to our kids when they need stuff that our relationship as a couple, as a team, it sometimes there are moments when it becomes secondary. And because they're not in the house anymore, there weren't barriers.
Yeah.
There, like, we get a chance to find ways right now
But
to
I
be a
think-
better service to each
But
other.
I think that's where, before you even get to this phase that we're in life, so couples that are listening to this, you've got to prioritize when you've got a infant, a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old. And I know the kids at that age require a little bit more
A lot
of your
more.
attention.
A lot more.
But you still have to prioritize the relationship. Because like I told our kids, I was like, look, your mother was here before you and she's going to be here after you. So hold on. Let me do what I need to do for her. I'll come back to you.
And I think sometimes that can be easier for the dad
Yeah.
than it is for the mom. But
I know,
but I
you're
think
nurturing spirit. You check in with the kids.
especially if you're nursing or if you're the primary household manager, that can be a challenge.
This is what I'm getting at. Like I said, I think there's 2 points of perspective that I'm trying to relay. One is have a mindset of service towards one another. Because I know there's been different times where I communicated something that I didn't like, that I wanted to see different. And if I hadn't communicated that to you, you wouldn't have been able to make a change. And vice versa. You've communicated things to me as well that I continue to try and work on. And so I think the first point is have the mindset of service towards one another. Because I always go back to what that one pastor told us a long time ago. Marriage is about giving up your right to be right. And we all want to focus on what we want and what we need, and we don't focus on what the other person needs. And then the second point that I'm trying to really crystallize is I saw that you were sick. And this is you now. And I know a few weeks ago, I wasn't my best. And I didn't feel like energy to do different things. And I was not like as plugged in or wanting to do as much, even though we were in a demanding time with some things that were going on. And I still had to plug in. But like you were more accommodating to my need at that time. And so it wasn't like, well, let me pay you back. It's just, I think that's the logical yin and yang in relationships. Like if you man down, then it's like, come through.
So how do you feel like I was able to show up during that season where you needed, where it was man down, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where it was just like, I can't
think-
do this, that, or the other.
Yeah, one, naturally you made sure I was fed,
Man, the way to your heart is through his stomach.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're not feeling your best, like you need nourishment, you need to eat good food. And I wasn't eating as much.
It was a while. I mean, it was a solid month where you weren't well.
And so, so it's like in that moment you were, making sure I had that need met. And then, just checking in, where you at, how you feel, what's going on, and and then I think it's all of those things, just being aware and not like putting extra demands on your partner in a moment or time when it's like, look, this is not the time to put extra on me.
Yeah.
And so I felt like that's how you were responsive. And I think, without asking you the question, I knew how to connect and meet the need that you had because you weren't feeling well.
One of the things that you didn't mention, but I feel like you communicated to me was, frankly, I let you talk about how you were feeling. I didn't cut it off because, every day there was something or a symptom or something going on or a moment, and you would have to talk it through. And there are times when I'm like, oh Lord, this is a lot that you were experiencing.
Right.
And I'm with you in it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm here, I'm seeing it, or not that I feel it too, but I feel empathy for what it is that you're experiencing. And the truth, sometimes with me, sometimes I don't want to talk about it.
Exactly.
So, but your love language is quality time.
Mm-hmm.
And that shows up for you in wanting to know you are heard. And if I had cut you off and was like, that's enough, I heard this 12 times, I'm done. That's not loving,
Yeah. I find it interesting sometimes in relationships, like this is the person you're closest to or the person you love, but we can be so mean to the people that are close to us.
Because we take them for granted.
Right. And it's like, I don't know, I come to awakening in life when you experience enough things in life and loss and you get older, your perspective changes. And I think for 20 years you've heard me talk about perspective. Perspective. That was my word of choice for decades. Perspective, because when you change how you look at things, the things you look at change. And
that is literally a plaque on my wall.
Right. And it's all about perspective, because if you always look at something the same way, you're only going to see it one way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you have to have different experiences culturally, socially, economically, so you can appreciate what your situation is like.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I've heard you over the years and I haven't always responded, and you told me again and I didn't respond.
Told you again what?
Like the things that matter.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You would say, it'll really be good if you could, cook a meal and just basically own it. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, yeah, I got it. But then I didn't do it, and you didn't stop loving me, but I may take a step in that direction. I may help more. Not that I don't want people to think that I don't do anything. I do a lot.
No, and I think that is the point with us, is that you definitely. So here's what I think is so interesting about, because we see these things differently. Like, so for me, my love language isn't just acts of service. It's
it's acts of specific service.
It's specifically cook a meal without me being involved. Right. And that to be true, but in order for you to think it through ahead of time, it requires you to start before 7 p.m. Right.
Yes.
But
you can't at 7:30 be like, oh man, what are we gonna do for dinner? It's like too late then. It's like we're gonna get something.
Right. And so it requires some planning. Also, on the flip side, like, I know that your love language is quality time. And no matter what season of life you're in, we have had to figure out. There were seasons when we were like, okay, it's babysitter. We're going to get out together.
Right.
Just being in the car for 20 minutes by ourselves to get to whatever destination it was and 20 minutes back, that fills us up. But there were seasons we did that. There were seasons where we would have, lunch together, or
we would schedule
it.
We would schedule things because I was super busy and on the go. So it was like, okay, well, let me get you on my schedule.
And now we have, if you will, like, unlimited time together. And I think it's easy to take for granted that a kind person, either one of us, even if we don't do what your love language is, we can take for granted, like, he gonna be here tomorrow, he fine, he good. Like, he know I love him, or vice versa. Like, she know I'm gonna be here, whatever. And the thing is like, we still need more. And I think it's hard for us to get over the fact that it's always, no matter what season you're in, it's always work.
You know what's interesting, because people can make those assumptions, but you never reach cruise control.
Never.
People want to say, you driving, boom, let me set it at 75 and we good. But how many times have you set the cruise control and some traffic came in, you had to, hit the brake, or you had to disengage, or you got too close to a car, but you had to turn that cruise control on and off. Mm-hmm. It's never where you can just turn it on and just go without having to pay attention or be aware. And I feel like people in relationships think they can just turn on cruise control, and it's not.
Or people think when they get married, it's going to be easier because I got them. I got papers on them,
no.
Or when I get to this level, it's going to be easier. Or when that, and it's like,
I think it's really more of a readjustment.
It is.
Because you were in a relationship, now you get married, then it's like, okay, there are different expectations in a sense that come with that. And so now you have to readjust. And then you have kids and you're in a relationship, then you got to readjust because you got to keep a priority on your partner and the children. You know, it's always a readjustment. But I just think that if people would be honest with themselves, like I had to be honest with myself, and it may be a more recent revelation, but like I said, man, I realized like how much it matters to you that I cook, and I've been cooking a lot more meals lately because you might be out doing something, and I'm at home, you know, just not doing much, and then I'm like, oh man, it's 6 o'clock, it's 6:30, it's like I gotta think about dinner because I can't wait for you to get home and expect that you're gonna have thought about dinner and then you're gonna come home and execute. I was like, that's actually not fair. So I was like, well, let me figure out what I want to cook, and then I just do it. And then you get here, it's like, okay, boom, dinner is done.
And you when we had our anniversary dinner, you're pretty reflective person. So you'll ask questions like, what do you want to see in the next 26 years? You know what I mean? You ask this question, profound question. And I was like, I have no idea. I haven't been thinking about this. But later on that day,
you have, but you just when it's put in that question, it seems like a daunting question at the time. But I think people have been thinking about it over time, and you just need to give yourself a moment to reflect.
The simplest thing you said, though, when I flipped the script, because I don't even know what my answer was, but when I flipped the script and I asked you, you said, I just want us to work on listening. Because, and what I've realized is that when I don't listen or help you know I heard you, you receive that as disrespect. That's what I've learned. And so just like you were saying, you know what? I need to think about meal planning more often. For me, I have to make sure, one, I manage my energy because the work I do is highly me speaking to other people and all this stuff. And so I have to manage my energy or figure out how I can take my moments so that I can be a better listener. Like I have to make room for that because I don't think that is, I'll be honest, I don't think that is actually natural for me to go there first because that's not the way that I receive love. I don't need quality time as a way to receive love.
It is so funny that you say that.
Tell me why.
Because if you say something to me and I'm not looking at you or have my phone down and I'm locked into what you're saying, you will swear I'm not listening to you.
Right, but you know the difference is it is those moments I'm saying something for, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes or whatever the case. Like
that's a long time to be saying something.
You know what? I ain't got time for you.
5 or 10.
I mean, if we're talking,
supposed to be locked in.
Yes, locked in. You mean you can't put your phone down for 10 minutes? Is this what we saying? I'm just. What you really saying, Chris? What are you really saying? But I think that we get so distracted.
Yeah. We're easily distracted now with cell phones and all these mobile devices. Squirrel. You know, look at this reel. Look, yeah.
But for you, it is the quality time. For me, it's just pay attention in that moment. That's it. It don't have nothing to do.
I think they're the same. They're nuanced.
Yeah,
is what it is. But it's the same thing. You want to ensure that you have been heard.
Yeah.
With what you're saying, and I want to ensure that I have been heard with what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's why people laugh because it sounds so cliche. You know, and they'll say, you know, you guys have been married a long time. You know, you do
like,
this.
What's the secret?
Yeah, like what's your advice? And I'm like, communicate. And they're like, huh? I'm like, yeah, it may sound cliche. It may sound like, really? Yes. If you can have effective communication in a relationship, you can make it through a lot of rough seas.
So let me ask you this. How would you, I'm curious, if we go into the worst case scenario, what would it look like for me to not be supportive of you when you man down? How would you describe that moment if I wasn't helpful?
If I was man down, you know, meaning I wasn't feeling well or just not in a good spot, yet you had all the same expectations. Like, you're not going to help me cook, or you're not cooking a meal, or you're not doing this, or, you know, you can't go run around and do these errands or whatever. I'm like, no, I don't feel well. So don't expect me in this moment to do that.
Got it.
So it's like, I think it would be, the worst case scenario would be putting an expectation that in the moment I may not be able to fulfill. And knowing that,
or it's going to be too taxing for you in that moment. Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Like, I know you haven't felt well these last few days, but if I had the very same expectations when you're at 100, 110%, it's like, well, I told you don't you see me? And then that leads into something else, because it's like, are you aware of what's going on here?
Yeah.
Do you care?
Do you care? Are you paying attention?
Right. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, it can be something small, but that small thing becomes something much more that is elevated when you're like, well, dang, you know I don't feel good, but you still want me to do the same exact things. And it could be anything. It doesn't have to be that you're not feeling well. It could be that you have like a busy time at work, or you got some stressful things going on with your family, and it's taxing on you, because stress becomes taxing.
Yeah.
And if you have the same exact expectation and you're not accommodating, or you're not supportive, because that's where the love bank gets filled. And when you have things going on, like, we have in-laws, and if there's something going on in my family and I don't feel like you have the support, when I'm trying to be a rock or be, engaged in this situation, it's like, well, dang, you don't care about my family, you don't care about me. And that can become a cascade of other things. That's why it's so important to communicate.
And I think a good question to ask a person when they aren't at their best is, what do you need?
Yeah. So let me pose that question back to you. Like, in a worst case scenario, if you were man down, what would be the way I could not show support to you?
Ask me what's for dinner.
There it is.
Listen, I don't have any other. Listen, now
I think before you go into that, I think it's hilarious right now that we're talking about dinner and cooking and all of this stuff, right?
Clearly, we like to eat.
Well, it's not even that. It's not even that.
It's
that when we had kids, it was just routine. There's gonna be dinner every day. Kids got to eat. Kids left the house and we became empty nesters. The kids come home and they're like, you guys don't have any food. How are you surviving? We're like, we make it through. We clearly not missing any meals.
No.
But it's like, it's funny how when they were here, it's just boom, just check mark expectation, because you got to feed them. But when it's two fully capable adults,
neither one of us
solely, it's like, well, I mean, I don't even eat cereal anymore, but it used to be like,
what's the easiest meal we can make? We have had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or
and I think that's an extreme, but like, I know like years ago, I'd be like, I'm gonna have me a bowl of cereal.
I think the other pressure around that whole thing around food is that I don't always want to dine out. I don't always want to pick something up. I don't want to spend the money or the calories. And I feel
we're trying to keep ourselves in shape, and dining out
make
just
a healthier
is not,
choice.
It's just not on the docket all the time.
Yeah.
I love to dine out because I feel like it removes all those other distractions, because we're not thinking about, what we're gonna eat, so we gotta go and buy it, and then we gotta prep it, and then we gotta cook it, and then it's the whole aftermath of cleaning up after all of that.
Oh my God, no.
And that's why dining out sometimes for us is cool, because it's like we can just be engaged in conversation. We can talk about all the things we want to talk about. We can laugh and joke, and then they just come, serve us, give us food, boom, then we go away.
It's a war for me to spend that money all the time.
Right.
Or even picking something up, because I'm going to always eat more when I dine out. I'm going to always spend more calories, and we, hands down, will always spend more money.
I've always appreciated that about you, because you're like, look, first of all, if we go out to eat, they better serve something that I can't cook at home.
Right. They got to be better than me, because I'm a decent cook, but they got to be better than me.
Yeah, so I've always appreciated that perspective that you had. So when I go out, I'll be getting stuff that I know I ain't getting at home. I'll be like, let me look at the menu. Get some stuff I know we can't make at the house.
Yeah. What do you feel like it makes it so hard for couples to do that yin and yang? Because I think like that's tough. What is that, babe?
People selfish.
Oh yeah.
It's simple. People are selfish. People want what they want, and they don't care about other people. And I think that's prominent in a number of relationships.
Yeah.
Even good relationships, people still put their needs first.
Sure.
People go off. That's how people get in credit card debt, or that's how people make poor decisions because they're thinking about them. They're not thinking about us or thinking about the other person in that scenario. They're like, nope, this is what I want. I want to do it. I work, I earn money, I deserve this. And they don't think like, well, how's this going to help us together?
Independent thinking, selfish thinking.
Yes.
Is a detriment. We had an uncle actually said something just recently that I thought was a visual. It helped me. I like things that are visual. And he was like, just imagine this continuum. On the left-hand side, there are negative numbers going all the way, to infinity. In the middle is baseline, is 0. And on the right side is all the positive numbers. He said, now, no matter what's going on in your life, one of you is at a different point. You don't need both of you in the negative spot. Mm-hmm. But when someone is filled up, tanked up, they are motivated or excited or encouraged in that moment, they're on the plus side, and the other person is discouraged or having a challenge or facing something. We need each other, not just to balance each other out, but when somebody when one of the persons is actually in a good spot, help the other, and don't be a downer. Right. And and in that moment, when you look at the continuum and somebody's a -2 and somebody's on a 7, like literally that is your moment to ensure that you help your spouse up,
And if you're at a 7 and they're at a -2, that's your ability to pull them back to the positive side.
And let them know that they're not alone. And I think we've just in the last month or two have had to experience that a lot with each other.
Look, it's been a whole lot of we're gonna walk hand in hand, like we all we got.
Yes.
It's me and you against the world, and I think that's how you have to, you got to have that mantra that you turn back to. Mm-hmm. That look, we're in it to win it, and we're just gonna stay focused on it.
And I think one of the things that I really needed too was the notion of that I can go and sit for some hours or take a nap. I said to you one time, I was like, I need a nap. And he was like, what else do you need? What you want me to do? And I was like, just don't come open the door. Don't come upstairs. I actually took a 2-hour nap. And that is not my style.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when you weren't feeling well and you took a nap, I was like, and I'm pretty sure I was on the phone with one of the kids. And I was like, yeah, Dad is up there sleeping. I'm going to just let that thing happen. He needs his rest. And not go bother him, not walk in the room. And so that, just allowing that space sometimes is all that's necessary for that -2 to at least get to 0.
Look, I just hope that people just take stock and just pause and say, well, what kind of behaviors am I demonstrating towards my partner or my spouse? Am I demonstrating behaviors that are accommodating, meeting them at their point of need, or am I demonstrating behaviors that say I'm selfish and I'm focused on me? Mm-hmm. Because I think, in the long run, those are the things that kind of tear relationships apart when you are just focused on you. And I'm not saying you can never focus on you, because we all got to take care of self first sometimes, but it's a difference between taking care of self first and being selfish and only focusing on you.
For sure.
And I think people need to understand the difference between those two, because they be like, well, self-care, I got to take care of my mental. And it's like, yeah, that's you pushing the limits on, taking care of yourself when you're pushing your partner to the side or not meeting them at the place that they need. Yeah. What would be, if you think back to this as people are listening, what would you say is the thing that they could do to make it worth it to, in this give and take of relationships?
I think it would be great for you to, in that moment, just quickly assess who is needing a little bit more right now. If it's a challenging situation, just who is needing that additional help and what can I do? And I think going back to the question, what do you need from me, is important, because what I think you need might be something different. If you need a glass of water, or if you actually need a full meal, or if you need me to leave you alone so you can go take a nap, like, listen to it and do it.
That's good.
What about you?
I was thinking about it as you were talking, and oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue.
I was gonna
lost
say
my thought.
you said it. Don't be selfish.
Yeah. Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. But
there's something else there though.
Yeah, I know it's percolating. It was right there.
Something on your chin. Something gray on your chin is keeping you from being able to remember your point.
Is that funny?
It is funny.
I don't mind the gray. I roll with it. I actually embrace it.
Yes, you do. It looks good.
But I think just I don't.
You want your thought. You want your thought, and it's not there.
It's gone.
It's
Sorry,
okay.
People. You'll get it on another episode.
It flew into the wilderness. It's fine.
Yeah, you'll catch it down the road. I'm sure I will share it at another given time. But
this has been good though. I'm glad that we had this conversation because I do feel better. And I'm thankful.
I got my thought.
Oh, see,
I got it.
Okay, what is it?
You got to really think the best.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think the best of someone else, that's how you eliminate selfishness. Because if you think the best, you're like, you know what, they got my best interest at heart. And then I want to think the best and have your best interest at heart. So
I think that's good because, yeah, you're right. If we think our partner is out to get us, come on now.
You don't need to be in a contentious relationship at home when you got to go out and battle the world.
Oh, no,
so it's
not
like,
at all.
Home is supposed to be your haven. So I'd rather come home and to a haven than I got to calculate, strategize on how I'm going to take her out.
I'm glad you're not doing that.
Exactly.
You sounded a little sinister right there. I'm glad you got your thought, babe.
Yeah, it just took me a second. Sorry, people.
Well, this has been good, honey, and I'm glad that we got a chance to talk about it, and until next time.
We're out. Thank you for spending some of your time with us today.
We appreciate all of your support, so be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to this podcast.
You can find us on Instagram at For Better and Worth.
And sign up to receive our free guide, The 7 Reasons Your Money Relationship Isn't Working with Your Partner, on ForBetterAndWorth.com.
Until next time, we're out of here.